Boruto Uzumaki just did the unthinkable. In chapter 25 of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, he offered Momoshiki a deal. If Momoshiki kills Jura, Boruto will surrender control of his body. That's right, the very demon who's haunted his soul, the very parasite who has failed again and again to overwrite him, to contain his body as his own, could finally get what he wants, Boruto's body and full control of it. But here's a chilling part that I don't think enough people are talking about or even considering. What if Momoshiki does not stop there? What if this deal becomes a loophole that finally allows him to break free of Boruto? Because as long as he's still inside of Boruto's body, at any moment Boruto could wrestle back control, and he's right back in that dimension Momoshiki does not want to be. What if Momoshiki places a karma on a brand new vessel? This could flip the story right on its head, the same way that it mirrors Sukuna's schemes in Jujutsu Kaisen without going into spoilers. Today, we're going to be taking a deep dive into why this deal is far more dangerous than it seems, the Buddhist and Shinto symbolism behind it, and how there is real evidence that Momoshiki, in particular because of his namesake itself being an inspiration from Momotaro the Peach Boy, does have an avenue to introduce new world building that expands how the karma seal works by allowing him to place another karma seal on another vessel. Join me in today's newest Naruto Explained video where your OBC, your original Boruto chief, breaks down why Boruto making this deal with Momoshiki has a very strong chance of backfiring, and that he might be underestimating the depths of how evil and crafty someone like Momoshiki is, because now that he's got this offer from Boruto, he's going to be more determined than ever to find a loophole, though it should be worth noting said loophole might create a plot hole, but we'll touch on that later. Also, by now the chapter review should be up on the channel by the time you guys are seeing this video, so I'll have that linked in the description box and in the end credits for those who have not seen it yet. Also, make sure to check out my new Gachiakida video on Every Raider Explained from my Anime Explained channel, and I've also got Sakamoto Days, Don to Don, Rent a Girlfriend, and My Dress Up Darling videos being worked on right now as well, going up on the channel in the next few weeks. So subscribe to that Anime Explained channel if you want to hear me talk about non-Naruto content in a strictly explained fashion. So let's start with Boruto. His deal comes from a place of despair. He can't defeat Jura as he is currently. Momoshiki has admitted that Boruto's presence has basically broken him. He regrets bringing Boruto back to life during that battle with Kawaki. In his own words, he just wishes that Boruto would die so he could go to the afterlife. That confession, it is huge because it means Momoshiki has fallen into despair as well, making Boruto arguably one of the few main characters who has a demon inside of him that he actually depresses the demon. And the fact that Boruto is willing to gamble and Momoshiki is willing to take this offer, it means everything. It means that including his very soul, to protect the loved ones that he has from Jura. If Boruto's willing to gamble that, it means there are truly no other options. And in shonen storytelling, desperation deals, they almost always backfire. There's a Sukuna parallel here that I'm not going to go into spoilers with, so I'm going to be very careful with this because I don't want to ruin a Jujutsu Kaisen fan's experience. So for viewers who follow Jujutsu Kaisen, this moment should feel eerily similar. Yuji Itadori once made a deal with Sukuna, the King of Curses, in season 1 of the anime. Sukuna agreed, but as always, there was a loophole, a clause, a condition that Yuji didn't fully understand. It led to what you saw in season 2 in Shibuya. Without spoiling too much, Sukuna, as you have seen, made that deal with the sole purpose of trying to find a way to get freedom on his own terms. Momoshiki could absolutely try to do the same thing here and successfully do it. Unlike Boruto, Momoshiki is an ancient being who has survived for over 1,000 years. He thrives on manipulation, on bending fate itself to his will. If Boruto lets go of control even briefly, that could be enough for Momoshiki to find his own loophole. Now, for the loophole, it goes back to what the karma seal literally is itself in terms of what the karma seal means in Asian culture, in particular Buddhism, karma. So that's the loophole, karma. Remember, karma It isn't just a brand, it's also the Otsutsuki clan's ace in the hole card. It's a genetic backup drive that lets them reincarnate into new hosts. But there's a catch. Finding the right vessel, it is crucial. Ishiki failed with Jigen because Jigen's body was not compatible with them long term. Hence, when Jigen was killed, Ishiki was forced to revive in Jigen's body, and Jigen's body that Ishiki was reborn in was breaking down quickly, and Burial Mode Naruto just sped that up. That failure cost him everything. Code was not fully compatible, so Code only got the Karma Seal, but no avenue forward for Ishiki to be able to reincarnate using his body. If Momoshiki gains full control of Boruto, even for a moment, he could plant karma onto someone else, someone younger, someone stronger, someone more compatible. But again, it's like a needle in a haystack. It's a very plot convenient thing. You have to find the right host. Ishiki got lucky with Jigen, but look at how much time passed between when Kaguya turned on Ishiki and when he finally found a host in Kawaki. It took over 1,000 years. If Momoshiki just magically found somebody, that would be very plot convenient. However, this would also mean that Boruto's sacrifice doesn't truly end with him losing his body. It would create an entirely new threat down the line, and it would bring back up a plot point that we had in Boruto Part 1. Everyone was asking, mainly Sasuke, hey, if this Ishiki guy's so bad, wouldn't killing Kawaki be on the table? And that brings me to the Buddhist symbolism, because Boruto isn't going to want to kill somebody that, say, Momoshiki puts the Karma Seal on, but Kawaki would. That's good conflict in storytelling, and it runs deeper with the Buddhism aspect. So in Buddhism, karma isn't just a technique like you see in Naruto. It represents the cycle of cause and effect. Momoshiki, by placing the karma on another, is literally trying to cheat that cycle, refusing to accept his fate and his rebirth into the void. Boruto, in offering himself up, embodies despair and self-sacrifice. He wants liberation, but in a twisted way. He's feeding the cycle instead of breaking it because he's trying to save his loved one. This creates a philosophical clash. Boruto seeks freedom through surrender. Momoshiki seeks immortality through domination. The Shinto symbolism and the Momotaro Peach Boy homage is what we have to look at next. And this is going to be very deep, so just bear with me. So Momoshiki's name, as longtime viewers know, is a pun on Momotaro the Peach Boy of Japanese folklore, a very famous Japanese folklore. Momotaro was a child of destiny. Born from a peach, he gathered allies to defeat demons. Momoshiki is obviously the inverse of that story. He's a demon like Otsutsuki, born of a peach. Imagery trying to corrupt destiny instead of purify it. His loophole to survive by passing karma on to another, it mirrors other folklore ideas that involve stealing life essence or manipulating rebirth itself. If Momoshiki finds a new vessel, it could be a perverse homage to Momotaro gathering allies, except for this time, Momoshiki is trying to gather a host. And there are actually quite a few Shinto stories and broader Japanese mythology stories that mirror the situation between Boruto and Momoshiki, where one being makes a bargain with another, but the loophole leads to corruption, escape, or unintended consequences. So let's look at the ones that are the most close to this situation. So we have to start first with Izanagi, Izanami, and the underworld bargain. So in Shinto creation stories, Izanagi ventures into the Yomi, the underworld, to retrieve his wife, Izanami, who had died. Izanami agrees to return with them, but only if Izanagi promises to not look at her until she is ready. Izanagi breaks that rule, and Izanami's true corrupted form is revealed. She becomes enraged and she vows to drag him into death as well. This leads to Izanami killing 1,000 people and Izanagi reviving 1,000 people, plus creating life with more other people to try to restore balance. Then you have the parallel with Boruto Momoshiki here. Boruto's deal, it mirrors Izanagi's bargain. Well-intentioned, but it is naive. Just as Izanagi's slip unleashed corruption, Boruto giving Momoshiki control could unleash a loophole that allows Momoshiki to cheat death and reincarnate into another vessel. Then you have Susanoo's banishment and return. The storm god Susanoo is banished from the heavens for his destructive behavior. However, after being cast out, he slays the great serpent Yamada no Orochi. He meets his wife Kushina Hime, whose Sarda's character is ridden with a lot of parallels too. And he earns back some of his redemption, even gaining the legendary Kusanagi sword, the very same sword that Sasuke and Orochimaru use. So the parallel here is that Momoshiki being banished inside of Boruto is much like Susanoo being exiled. If Boruto gives him freedom, Momoshiki could twist the situation to gain something valuable for himself. A new vessel, the same way that Susanoo got a wife and he got the Kusanagi sword. But instead of redemption, for Momoshiki it'd be manipulation. Then you get into the tale of the monkey and the crab. A trickster monkey in this Japanese story makes a deal with a crab, promising food, but betrays and he kills the crab. The crab's offspring later on avenge it. So the parallel here is that Momoshiki is the monkey figure. He is deceptive, always seeking a loophole to twist deals. Boruto's sacrifice could be like the crab's misplaced trust, a deal that seems fair but it's actually a trap. Then you get into Amaterasu and the rock cave, which is another thing that kind of ties back to Sarda and Ada, and we've touched on that in past videos. So with Amaterasu, the sun goddess, she hides inside of a cave after Susanoo's rampage and the world falls into darkness. The gods use trickery, in particular Ameno Uzume, who places a mirror and jewels and stages a celebration in order to lure her out the cave. The gods, they manipulated Amaterasu's trust to shift the balance and bring sunlight back to the world. Momoshiki is a dark mirror in this story. He could use Boruto's moment of surrender as a trick to lure out an opportunity to break free. So now we got the parallels out the way, let's look at the narrative risk here. So on one hand, this is very brilliant narrative tension. If you go this route, Boruto's sacrifice could unleash an even greater danger. On the other hand, it risks becoming a plot hole, and it does risk being an actual plot hole. I'm not going to be one of these clown ass channels out here that calls everything a plot hole. Like if you're a longtime viewer and you're not one of these mindless dumbasses on Reddit, Twitter, Facebook, they go, oh my god, Naruto Explained calls everything a plot hole. If I put plot hole in the title, I'm usually addressing why it's not a plot hole. Don't lump me in with these other disingenuous people. But I do think we're walking a razor's edge for a potential plot hole with this. If this is not handled carefully, this would be a plot hole. So why hasn't Momoshiki done this already? That's something that people would be asking. Granted, he's never really gotten the chance to since reviving Boruto, so maybe that might not be a plot hole, but it does make you wonder why this wasn't something that was addressed earlier. It might be possible. Ishiki, upon reviving in Jigen's body, was trying to put the Karma Seal back on Akawaki, and when Ishiki was physically inside of Jigen, he was using Jigen to put the Karma Seal on others. So there's nothing that says that he technically can't do it, but it could walk that razor edge of being a potential plot hole given Momoshiki's circumstances. So the key might be Boruto's willpower. It's been the only thing that's truly been stopping him. Momoshiki's not been able to break Boruto to a point he can get full control. If Boruto does give him full control willingly, it could unlock Momoshiki's last desperate chance. Boruto's deal with Momoshiki, it might seem like a smart and a desperate gamble to stop Jura, but the cost, it'll be far greater than he imagines. By giving Momoshiki a slither of freedom, Boruto could be opening up the door to a brand new Karma vessel, a reborn Otsutsuki threat. This mirrors Yuji and Sukuna. It is steeped in Buddhist and Shinto symbolism, and it even ties back to Momoshiki's folklore-inspired name. Whether it's brilliant foreshadowing or it's a potential dangerous plot hole, one thing remains certain. Boruto's deal, it could change the fate of the entire shinobi world forever. Do you think that Momoshiki will find a loophole, or is Boruto somehow smart enough to outsmart him in the end? Let me know down in the comment section below. Also, click here to check out the chapter review, or click here to check out videos from my other two anime channels where I talk about non-Naruto content.